Hello and welcome to another episode of Nerd Age where we discuss everything nerdy. My name is Mick, and with me as always are my co-hosts Josh.
What's up?
Corey.
Hello.
And Jonah.
I'm Vengeance.
Really quiet.
Vengeance.
Welcome to the show, guys. This episode is going to be our non-spoiler and spoiler review of The Batman. It came out this weekend. We've all had a chance to see it, so let's get into non-spoiler stuff first.
I think Josh should go first because we watched it together. Corey,
Yeah.
Mick, and I.
We have yet to hear what he's thought of
Yeah,
it.
we got yet to hear. And
Oh,
you've seen
boy.
it twice, right?
I have seen it
Okay.
twice.
Wow.
All
Have
right.
you guys only seen it once?
I've seen it 3 times.
Oh, I see. I knew it. I knew it.
I'm supposed to go today, this evening. So
What'd you think, Josh?
So I was going to originally say that I was going to have to hate it because everyone else liked it. But I'd be lying to myself because this is probably one of my favorite Batman movies ever, to be honest.
Nice.
Overall, the movie, it's the Batman movie that I've wanted for the longest time. Like just the storyline, the things that we see for Batman, what he does in it. For me, it's like I said, one of my favorite Batman movies.
Why does this movie stand out versus like other movies? We're not going to get too into other
Right.
movies, but like, what does this movie offer, non-spoilery, that other movies haven't?
So leading up to it, Matt Reeves has said he was focusing on the detective aspect of it, and that's what I've always wanted out of a Batman movie.
Perfect.
Is the more
Yeah.
detective side of things. He's figuring the things out. He's not just driving around beating people up all the time. Like he's the great detective kind of a thing.
Right.
And just grounding this story in that aspect of it just makes it kind of what I've always wanted, what I've seen in a lot of the animated series that we haven't really gotten at all in live action all that much. So that for that reason alone, it's kind of what I've been waiting for, essentially.
Perfect.
yeah, I think just to kind of talk a little bit about that. There's in other movies, there's kind of like you always see the Batman like in the Batcave on the computer figuring things out, or something like that. But this is more like he's on the scene doing stuff like the crime scenes and stuff like that and figuring stuff out. And I thought that was really cool. That was kind of, we don't get that. We never gotten that a lot in other movies. But this one really like gave us that in a really cool level.
Yeah, he's actively solving mysteries and puzzles that the Riddler is laying out for him. I really liked it because his relationship with Gordon, it just fits so well with the story. It was very Sherlock Holmes, Watson type of relationship, which I love the Dark Knight trilogy. I think that Gordon was great in that, but I feel like they just didn't quite nail the working relationship that Batman and Gordon have. But this movie, I think that was one of the highlights for me for sure.
Yeah, I think a big factor for me for this movie, why it's a great movie, is because of the aspect of it offering different things than other movies have for Batman. Like it's just a different take on Batman. It really is. It shows a lot different sides of Batman. I think that it steps away from a lot of core Batman stuff that happens, but it's because they're like, we've already done it. Hey, let's talk about, let's delve into this, crime solving, like detective work aspect of him. And I think another standout part of this movie is probably just the supporting cast.
Definitely.
All the other people. I think Catwoman, like I said in our initial review, our reaction video, that I was just really amazed by her. And I think that obviously they're like Pattinson's and what's her name?
Zoe Kravitz. Their dynamic is really good.
Yeah.
You can tell they had a really good chemistry, and that was great. Commissioner Gordon was good. I think just a lot of the acting was really good.
Yeah.
And so it for me, like now that I'm thinking back on it, that's a big redeeming factor for me for this movie. Like it just brings it up higher for me. I think that it steps away from some aspects of Batman, but it really focuses on some not so popular aspects of Batman, and so for that I think it's really cool. So if you're into that noir look and aesthetic, and that that crime solving aspect of Batman, this is right up your alley, 100%.
And I think even what you're saying there too is like I felt with other movies, Gotham City hasn't been as unique or hasn't felt like a character. This one really feels like you feel Gotham City, just the aesthetic of it. Yeah. The fact is it's always raining basically, like makes you feel like you're immersed in it. And so that was really cool. I thought the aesthetic of it, how it was all designed, just the scenes in it, everything felt like a gritty Gotham. And I think if we compare it to some of the Nolan movies, they filmed in different cities every movie. So it kind of like, it was a different look every time. This one just feels like, I don't know, like Gotham to me. And so that was something that I really liked too.
Yeah, it was the best Gotham by far. I think like the closest to, it was probably closest to like a mix of Joker Gotham and some of the Batman Begins stuff with the Narrows.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it was by far the best Gotham. It had like the perfect balance of like a gothic feel mixed with kind of grunge.
Yeah.
Like you were saying, it rained the whole time, which was great. Like that's how it's described in the comics. And I don't know if you guys have seen Seven or not. This film took a lot of inspiration from that. And that was one of like the main things in that movie was the city that they're in is just constantly raining. And like you said, it just feels like, it just makes you feel more like you're in there with them and just how like messed up and just corrupt the city is. So yeah, I think by far it's the best Gotham that we've got.
I don't know if it's the best. I think it's the most immersive.
No, it's the best.
It's the most immersive 100% because other Gothams have been realistic. This was not realistic. I mean, this is like very stylized to be noir style and like it was super immersive. So I would say it was the best at what's it called? Immersion. Thank you. For me.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying because if we talk about Gotham as being a character in the story, you definitely feel the Gotham character, what they're trying to convey about, the city, the corruption, all that stuff. You feel it visually, and with just anything like just your senses, right? So that I thought that was really cool. Going back to what you were saying, Corey, there's no bad actor in this movie. Yeah. Like everyone's like hitting all their. The Penguin for me was awesome.
Yeah.
He's like, I mean, it's not really that much competition, but best Penguin we've ever seen by a mile. You know what I mean? Just his interpretation of it and feeling like weighty, right? He's not just kind of like, I'm a goofball guy that they call the Penguin. He's like, you can tell, even though he's in this situation a right-hand man, but you can still feel like, he's a bad guy. And that for me, he was awesome.
And it definitely alludes to like where he'll be in the future. And with the HBO Max series, it's cool that we'll get to see that.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that I thought was really good about this movie is that it kind of starts, I think this isn't a spoiler. We all know that it's year 2 Batman. So time has passed. He's been Batman for a while, but they don't really introduce a character and give like a really a detailed backstory of them. You kind of just assume you're supposed to assume that they've been around for a while, it's like, so it doesn't go in and explain who the Penguin is or who, anybody of these characters are. It kind of just lets the audience kind of figure it out or kind of just realize, this is what the Penguin's been doing, which I thought was really cool. That these characters are kind of have already been living in this universe for a while. And we're kind of catching up to where they are now. And that kind of just lends itself, if there's sequels, to kind of just see where some of these characters will go to, which is kind of cool. Matt Reeves has said stuff like he wants to like bring in a bunch of all these villains and characters. He's like, they live in this universe and kind of show how they've been around. And they're all like, we're seeing them become who they ultimately become from the comics and animated series and stuff like that. So I think was just really well done. I think that's one of the cool things of Catwoman. Like Corey was saying, that I think she is one of the best parts of this movie. And I'm not a huge Catwoman fan. like in the animated series, I've always been like, whatever, you know. But she was great in this, and I think that's part of it too. You kind of just get that character, you know, and they write her so well that you're just kind of like introduced to her, and they don't do a lot to explain who she is. You just kind of figure it out as you go along in the movie. Yeah. And I thought you're not spoon-fed things, and that's what I liked about this movie. It's kind of like, these are characters, listen, watch, see what's going on, and you're kind of going to figure out as we go along.
Yeah. For me also, I think the music is awesome too. The theme is just like, I mean, there's not much to it, to be honest, but it's so like, I was like driving home and I was just kept dun, 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 dun. Chris was like, stop it. What are you doing? I'm like, no, I got to keep doing it. But just like it goes pretty simple, but then it has so much depth to it. Like Selena's theme is awesome. And then just like the fleshing out the full Batman theme is pretty sweet. I really, I thought that was awesome. I will say, probably, I think what a lot of people will probably complain about is the length of it. It is a long movie, but for me, it was like, I kept being like, oh, this is like still going, but it was like in a good awesome way. Like, okay, we still have more to go through, but I could see how for some people that maybe don't like the aesthetic as much, or maybe weren't expecting this, I could feel like probably the length of the movie is probably a detractor for them, I would say. How did it feel for you guys, lengthwise?
I would agree. I was a little nervous going into it because 3 hours is a long time to sit in a movie. But for the story that they told, I thought that it was the perfect amount of time. Not once did I feel like, man, this is like dragging or anything like that. So I was really happy with the time. I could see people having an issue with it just because that's how I felt about the story, because the story was so gripping to me that I didn't care how long it was. But yeah, I think some people will probably have an issue with it. But in reality, it's not that much longer than your Spider-Man No Way Homes, your other Eternals that came out. Like,
that's true.
Yeah,
it's really not that much longer. I mean, Endgame was 3 hours.
Right.
But they had a lot
They
of
had like
stuff to do.
60 characters to...
Well, sure. But I mean, the point is that there are still comic book movies like that are that long that people enjoy.
And 20 jokes a minute in the end game. You know what I'm saying?
But yeah,
Gotta fit them all in.
the time was no issue for me at all.
Corey, what do you think?
Yeah, it's just a little bit too long. Just a little bit. I'm not trying to be super picky about this. I think if they cut 10 minutes off, I think it's great. And we can go into spoilers later, but I've got justification by that. Okay. But yeah, I still think it's great. I still think that I didn't once be like, yo, I need to look at my time. Like, I need to look at my phone to see what time it is. But there was exactly that moment that you had where I was like, oh, we're still going. Okay. Like, I wonder how much time we have left, is what I thought to myself. Yeah. That was the exact thought process during the movie. And now that I've watched the movie, I've got some, critiques that I want to talk about, but later. But it didn't like tear the movie down for me. It didn't make it a bad movie in any way. I think it's just, if you want to attract, more people, I think just trim off 10 minutes, and I think you do a better job by that. And it's just a safer bet. But yeah, anyway, what about you?
Time didn't bother me. I like long movies anyways. So for me, it was like, just like Josh and Mick said, everything was engaging and I was engaged with it. So I was kind of like, yeah, give me more. But yeah, I can see some people, if they're not liking the feeling of the movie, if it's too like thriller, suspenseful kind of thing, they don't want to live in there. It's a horror movie, but yeah, the time didn't bother me that much. Like I said, to me it was fine. But I can see some people having issues with it. I don't know. Is there anything else want to say? I would say we kind of keep it short. Yeah. And because definitely, I think all four of us would recommend going and watching it. So if you haven't seen it, it's worth spending that hour in the 3 hours in the theater to watch it. So
I think a big part of this is that they've done a lot of Batmans before, and they cover very certain aspects of Batman. They're epic, grand scale Batmans. There's more intense, more fight version Batmans. There's more tech oriented ones. This is your detective Batman, and it is very engaging if you like that kind of stuff. They do the Riddler complete justice. They do Riddler in a way that I've never really seen.
Yeah.
A lot of the situations in past Batman content, like the animated series, very jokey, haha, and like that aspect of it. But this Riddler was very real.
Yeah.
And the grittiness of that and the intrigue of the riddles and everything, the puzzles and stuff like that. That's what really keeps you in this movie. So if you like that stuff, go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're not getting paid. So, you know what I mean? Like this is,
Yeah, for sure. Let's start with Choop. What do you give it as a
You're
ranking?
starting with me?
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Congratulations.
Okay, this was tough because I had to think about. I have one nitpick with this movie, and that's it.
that's it.
I only have one nitpick with this movie.
Oh no.
It's a 3-hour movie. It was enjoyable for me the whole time. I'm giving it a 10.
Is this our first 10 we've
giving
ever
it a
had
10.
on
For a
here?
movie, we had Arcane.
You didn't even wait. What was the gripe? What was the issue?
We're getting into spoilers. That's a
Oh,
spoiler issue.
okay.
We got
Sorry.
our-
I know you said I have one gripe.
No, what
Okay.
I'm saying is like it's a very minor nitpick about the movie. Everything else, there's nothing I did not like about this movie. I enjoyed the characters. Were spot on for me. Pattinson as Battinson is quality. He's great. And I gave Dune like a 9.2, and I like this more than Dune, so giving it a 10.
It's a 10.
Oh.
Wow.
Not me. Someone else. Yikes.
Oh, go ahead.
Me?
Yep.
I flirted with that a little bit, but I'm going 9.8 actually.
Coward.
Holy
I'm giving it a 9.8.
crap. That's insane.
Yeah, 9.8. Mick?
Would you give Snyder?
I think it was a 9.5. I gave the Snyder Cut.
It's a better movie.
Well, what?
Like you, I flirted with it, and I was seduced. 10.
Yeah,
Oh,
buddy.
two
Let's
tens
go.
on this. What? Corey's about to drop a 7.3.
I don't think I should say my.
No, you got it.
I'm going to drive your guys' average down a lot.
That's fine.
It's fine. Go for it. Hey, this is about hey, film is subjective.
But here's the thing: is I say this rating, you guys look at me differently for the rest of my
No,
life.
we won't. No, we won't. That's not how we roll, bro.
See, he doesn't say anything. He
We-
will.
we
He called
promise-
it a 10.
We
dude.
promise we won't.
A perfect movie. Cannot imagine a better movie. This is the best movie of all time. A 10.
Yeah,
You guys
I'll
just
go
dropped
with
a 10.
Yeah,
2 tens.
I'm good with that.
Okay. Okay. I gotta be true to myself.
Yeah, be true to yourself,
be true to
bro.
yourself.
Yeah. Because of the length, I think that there was some weak story points.
Okay.
There's a lot of them for me. I think that there's see, he's not even making I will abstain. I will abstain. I will abstain. I will abstain. No, I'm
Yeah,
good.
be true to yourself. Just like I was true to myself and Jonah chickened out. He wasn't true to himself. He
Hey,
gave
I
it a
was true to
9.8.
myself.
I will give it 2 thumbs up.
No.
Come
We need a
on.
number.
2 thumbs out of how many thumbs?
Exactly. That's the question. You don't know.
No, give us your number.
Yeah, come on. We need your number.
Yeah,
we need it.
Give it, bro.
All right. 8.9.
That's
That's not bad.
That's-
Is that
that's
true
a
to
good
yourself? Are
movie.
you being true to yourself?
8.8.
Okay.
True
Okay.
to myself.
Okay. Are you being true to yourself now?
8.8. Yeah, 100%.
Is that 8.5? 8.5.
You guys maybe go up 0.1 because of the peer pressure.
Hey, that's still a
That's
good
still a
movie.
good movie.
It's still a great movie.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. See,
A 10 is the best movie of all time. Right?
There's
We can have
8.8
multiple movies.
There's no such thing as a higher than a 10.
no, there isn't. But there's multiple
Exactly.
movies that are a 10.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not like once it's
That's
a 10,
crazy.
it's like there's nothing's ever going to surpass this.
I'll be
It's
watching West
there's
Side
gonna be
Story.
other
Exactly what a
movies
10
that are,
is. That's what a 10 is.
no, but there's other movies that'll be just
Because
as
what
good.
if there's a better movie than the Batman? You can't go 10.1.
I know, and I'll be like, it's a 10. That's as high as my scale goes.
Okay. Well, there you go. There you have it.
Yep.
A rousing, just amazing, amazing review from us. The Batman incredible movie.
Yes.
Best
Blowing-
best
yeah.
of year. We can't really see a better movie this year coming out.
Well, and here's
We really can't.
Here's the thing I'll say.
No.
This was my number one
Yeah.
anticipated movie, and it exceeded what I thought. Like that's
Yeah.
how good it was.
Was it your number one?
No, it wasn't.
No.
Okay, so
yours
just
two.
Yeah.
So for me, I went
Lord of
in
the
with
Rings.
really high expectations, and
Yeah.
it met those expectations. So that's good.
Incredible.
Yeah.
So let's go into now. If you haven't watched it, go watch it, and then come back to get our views on spoiler review right now. We started with Choop, so let's start with Corey.
No.
What is it? No,
You
don't wanna
guys go
start?
first.
Okay.
I feel bad because I'm like very critical of this movie.
Spoiler
and I'm
alert,
like,
spoiler alert.
This is the whole point. Yeah. Spoilers from now on. I think for me, like I said, I had high expectations for it. It met those expectations. Music was fantastic. Everything I liked, everything they did with Batman, the stuff, the opening of it, I thought was one of the coolest things. Having Batman narrate, kind of like Rorschach from Watchmen, like that whole him doing that narrative and stuff. I loved the aspect of his steps making noise. Like they really drove that. Like every step he would take, like the bad guys would hear him coming out of the shadows. I just thought that was really cool that other movies and other directors hadn't played with that. The aspect of the psychological, like what is Batman doing to these people where they're afraid of him? Like the scene at the beginning where they're seeing the bat signal and you see the terror in all the bad guys doing stuff. They're like, oh shoot. That to me was really awesome. And just kind of that whole narration. So for me, those kind of things it started awesome. All the Riddler stuff was really cool when he shows up, when he's about to kill the mayor. Awesome. And then the guy like moves and he's back there. I just thought that was really cool. I kind of went like, oh, shoot.
It's like a horror film almost, right?
Corey was getting a little nervous at that point because he was like, is this about to turn horror? No, but I just think that kind of stuff for me was really cool. And it really elevated the aspect of Batman because I thought that was very unique that other people hadn't done. Like Nolan did that a little bit in Batman Begins where he's like, over here, and he's like getting the guys when they're running. Yeah. But it's always been that way. This was kind of just like him walking out of the shadows and the sound of his feet and his steps getting people freaked out. That I thought was just awesome.
Yeah, well, and they go into they make points in the movie that like they think he's everywhere.
Yeah,
and
he's like, I am the shadows.
I am the shadow. That you're saying that the voiceover I thought was so cool. I wanted more of it because I think he only does it like 3 times. I just liked it so much that I just wanted more. Yeah. I could see why maybe they didn't do it because I think it kind of can teeter to maybe just like saying and not showing.
Recapping basically.
Yeah. But I just thought it was so well done that I was like, oh, I want more of that. And that's in the comics. Like a lot of comics have like you are in the mind of the character. Batman does that. Spider-Man does that. So I love that aspect a lot. I thought that was really cool. And that's something I had heard before we watched the movie, so I was really excited for that. But in terms of the fear, Batman Begins is like that is the theme of the movie. But to me, this movie just nailed more of that, like he's everywhere fear. Like people are actually scared of like just shadows and just the dark alleys, an empty doorway. Like I just think the movie did just a perfect job.
Yeah, that was really cool
with that.
Yeah. The intro, one of my favorite intros, like going from the Riddler stuff into the Batman stuff was awesome. You guys already talked about the voiceover type of stuff. Like the fact that he's keeping a journal and being like, this is Gotham Project year 2. Yeah. I'm writing everything down. That like plays into the whole detective analysis type of thing that I really enjoyed about it. It's not like he's just like, oh, I'm just beating up these bad guys. Like there's a methodology behind it and he's trying to figure out what he can do differently to help the city kind of a thing. So I thought that was really cool. I like that we didn't see his parents die. You know, we don't need to. I think they did enough with that. One of my favorite moments is when he sees the kid and Gordon's like, the kid found him. Yeah. And then he looks at the kid and you can almost even tell like just with his eyes, you know what I mean? Like it's a really black scene, but you can see in his eyes, it hurts him. Yeah. That was awesome to me. I really enjoyed that part. And they bring that, they bring in the whole orphan storyline. He lost his parents. They bring that in enough that you don't need to be like, what, did Batman's parents die? You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't need to show you that. You get that feeling through other things that they do in the story. So that was awesome to me. You talked about it before too, but his relationship with Gordon is awesome to me too. Like they've got great chemistry. I think
like when he punches him.
Yeah. You could have pulled your punch. So I really liked Gordon in this also. I forget what's the actor's name.
Jeffrey Wright.
Yeah, Jeffrey Wright does awesome. So I'm excited to see what how the relationship develops. And again, it's cool that he's like you said, Jonah. They don't have to tell us like, oh, this is James Gordon. He started here, and this is when he started talking to Batman. He's like, hey, this is year 2. I don't even know who you are. So we already know there's an established relationship. They've been working together.
Like he already has the light and everything. Like,
Right. It's all set
They
up.
don't have to show you how he got that. It
Right.
was just kind of like, no, we're just going with it.
Right. But yeah, that was, and I like we talked, Batman showing up at the crime scene and everyone just being like, are you kidding me? What's this guy doing here?
Yeah.
Like,
Police only. Like,
Yeah.
Stay out.
but yeah, that was awesome to me. So I really enjoyed all that.
All right, Corey, let's hear it.
What?
We
Just
want to
give
hear.
us
Give
some-
us a little something.
Because
something.
we'll talk about a
Can I-
little bit.
hey,
Like,
can
you
I
get
push back?
something?
On what?
I'm gonna push back.
No,
No,
We're
just
just waiting.
some of the things you didn't like, or that
You
you
want me to
said.
hear only bad things?
No,
Well, no,
what
here-
you- just what you
Kind,
like.
of, kind of in the realm that we're talking with the movie right now. With like, what are your?
Okay, let me preface all of this with I think this I gave it an
You get
8.9. Well, 8.8. So
it's a
being
great
true to
movie.
myself. And this movie was awesome. I think that it for my taste, it didn't pass out Dark Knight Rise or Dark Knight. Just because for what I like in a movie and what I like in Batman, this focused on other things, which is totally
Right.
valid. And, you guys made it a 10, and obviously it's your favorite Batman movie, which is great. But for me and my taste, I thought that I really, really enjoy that emphasis on his parents. And so not having that and only having subtle hints to it, I thought hurt it a little bit.
Okay.
That's just for me. And I also think that the length of the riddles and that length of it was too long. When all is said and done, Batman didn't win. The Riddler really did win. I mean, Batman had like the final point of Riddler's whole campaign. Okay, that last part of Batman working with him, that got ruined, right? So he kind of lost at the end. But in reality, I mean, Batman lost, and
he killed who he was wanting to kill.
yeah, and he did what he wanted to do to the city. So I mean, I don't, maybe not the mayor, maybe the mayor not dying. That's a small victory as well.
Oh, that's true.
She avoided death. So there's a lot more wins, but yeah, I think that I think a key component for this, and that was missing, was the aspect of the, oh my gosh, the goosebump moment. I didn't have that in this movie. And that's not it being a bad movie. It's just it not matching up with my taste like perfectly.
Right.
Like with The Dark Knight, the end of it gave me goosebumps. Oh, he had to make the decision, and oh my, that gave me goosebumps when I watched it. This one, I was just like, okay, it's like, it wasn't like a huge crescendo, at the very top, and it wasn't this huge accumulation. I was like, oh my gosh, and it's epic, and it's like, no, this is a different movie. I don't watch detective shows, after work. I just don't watch those type of shows.
Yeah.
For fun. And so the fact that I even gave it an 8.8 is really good because it's Batman. They did them very differently than previous Batmans. I think there's aspects that it does better. I think there's aspects that it doesn't do as good. But for what it was, I think that it, offered a lot of really interesting things. So I guess for me, acting was great, and that really pulled it along for me.
Yeah.
Like the characters were so great. I can't emphasize them enough. Catwoman, best Catwoman ever. How they did it.
Yeah.
Like, man, it was great. It was just so great. I love how they did Catwoman. But like what you guys were talking about, a little bit of show, not tell. The way they showed her and kind of revealed slowly her backstory, and then at near the end, Falcone, and it's like, okay, and like at the very, very end, having that symbolism of them driving off and her going left, him going right. He made that choice, right? She goes first, and he had to make that decision. Do I go with that or not? He makes his own path. I love that. There's a lot of symbolism in this movie, and that was really cool. So
I'll agree with you on the. I'll agree with you. I thought that it was fine. They didn't need to show us his parents being murdered, but I wish there was a little more. And I'll kind of compare it to the animated series. You know, the animated series would have episodes where he'd have like nightmares and remember. Like there's that typical scene in the animated series. I can't remember what episode, but he's running down like an alley or something, and then the alley turns into a gun, right?
Oh yeah,
and then
that was sick.
The blood starts like coming out of like, and he wakes up and has all this stuff. And so to me, I wish there would have been like a scene like that where he's like trying to sleep or something, and he has like a nightmare of just. It doesn't have to show it exactly, but something that symbolizes that I thought would have gone a long way, just to kind of, hey, we're not going to show you them getting murdered, but show you a little bit that he's still dealing with that. And I think what Josh says is right. There's some subtle connections with the orphan thing, with the kid. I thought that scene was really good. But in the same way, I think I would have been okay with them maybe doing a little more. And some people would say it's heavy-handed, but I'm like, something like that to me would have maybe pushed it up a little more for me to feel more in that moment.
Go ahead.
Or I was gonna say even something simple as like him driving by Crime Alley and just like having like a lingering look or something like that. But I get what you're saying. I was fine without anything like that. Like you guys are saying, I think that the orphan kid, the kid of the mayor, I think that alluded to that enough for me where I was fine with it. And I mean, obviously, being a Batman fan, I know his, reasoning behind, well, what he's doing. But
I think that's awesome, and I think it's really smart, and I think it's really cool how they did that. The missing piece for me is that I really like that aspect of it, and it puts weight and it puts meaning behind his actions in most Batman movies and content. So in this movie, the movie and his actions felt like it had less weight and meaning because it was missing a key component. And obviously, we're all smart enough to understand, right? Like where he came from and why happened, he looked at that way. But it's different. It's a new Batman, and so for me, it's just that was a missing piece. Yeah. That's all I'm trying to say. And are you guys are gonna say like, well, no, you guys say what you want.
Oh, I am gonna say
go for it, buddy.
No, I mean, I already said it. For me, it didn't detract from it.
Yeah, it was enough for you.
I actually liked that it was more subtle and it wasn't like, we have a dream sequence or something ridiculous like that. Like Jim was saying.
Hey, we're not saying that.
I'm just joking. No, I agree
Man,
with
every
you.
time.
I agree with you. And I think that's a perfect opportunity to have that in maybe a second or third movie where we can have
absolutely.
like in the Arkham games when you have that one where the fear toxin and you have the scarecrow moment. That is an awesome sequence, and I really hope they do that in one of the later movies.
That'd be sick.
Because it's a
they
good
would be able to do it so well too.
Yes.
And I like how that
noir.
Maybe it's like, hey, we didn't show it to you in the first movie because we're wanting to tell year 2 Batman story, but we can definitely bring it back.
Right.
And honestly, Matt Reeves does a great job with sequels, so I've got high hopes for that. For your point about Batman losing, I actually kind of like that fact because we're not seeing a Batman that's like fully come into his own. He's making mistakes, so he thinks it's the Penguin. One of my favorite lines, by the way, is "No habla español, fellas." Like that was my favorite.
What is this, Riddler stupid?
That was good.
That was so funny.
And it wasn't like a roll your eyes. It was like smart enough to be like, oh, that's funny.
He's like, "That's the worst Spanish I've ever heard." Like, what are you talking about?
No, that scene.
I love how Commissioner Gordon and Batman like look at each other like.
He's like, is he right? Is he wrong? That was awesome to me. But yeah, so I like that aspect of him being like, oh, he didn't quite get it. He's not on top of his game.
He was always behind.
Because
Riddler's just smarter.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. And that was like a huge aspect of this.
And so I kind of do like that aspect of like, well, I didn't end up saving the day entirely. Some people probably died.
The majority of it was a giant L. Like there's some little wins, but mostly L's.
Right. But at the end of the day, he still comes out of this learning a lesson, adapting to what has happened, and the effect on Gotham was so positive. Like before, it was like vigilante.
Well,
like
we're not unified. He's vengeance.
It's like he got Gotham got unified through this event of loss,
right?
And also seeing Batman at the center point, and so now he's he's not just vengeance. He's more of like a symbol,
Right.
You know, he's,
Right. Well, even that
he's
whole
more than it.
the
He's
whole
more than a symbol.
the cool shot that I really like, which I'm surprised, like the fact that the shot of him leading the people out with the flare, that they showed so much of that in the trailers.
But we thought he was in a sewer,
right?
Yeah.
But that to me was like that. That image is awesome. I want
And the
Crystal.
light, and the
I
light
want.
playing off their face looked like,
I want Crystal to make a picture of that, of him like leading. That just is such a cool image, and it that's one of those moments that kind of gave me goosebumps. I know you said you didn't have that. For me, there was something like just about that. And I have heard a lot of people complain they feel like the third act kind of didn't get there. Like they didn't give him that.
It just didn't
that
have
euphoria.
enough weight. Yeah.
But for me, that scene was like where he realizes, the Riddler guy, that he gives himself the Bane serum, which looked like it to me. I don't know if that's what it is.
That's what I
A
thought
lot of
too.
people are saying that. I think it's just adrenaline, but
dude.
yeah,
But why do you make it green?
could Bane use that? Interesting.
'Cause Riddler.
Maybe later, guys. But when the guys, they take his mask off and he's like, who are you? And he's like, I'm Vengeance. And Bruce Wayne gets that, or Batman has that realization, like, what am I doing? And that whole scene, then him like getting electrocuted and coming out of the water, and that whole stuff I just thought was so cool, how he like becomes from like someone that's been in the shadows and vengeance, he is now leading kind of hope. Leading the Gotham out to safety. That I thought was really well done, and it kind of gave him a different perspective, which I am excited for where that leads in the next movies, because I think that's some really cool like character work and development to work on.
Yeah, I think it's cool because to me it instantly reminded me of the scene in Dark Knight, the whole like, we're like you, we're just trying to help, and I'm nowhere to occupy. Like,
It's great, dude.
to me, they took that like more of a kind of almost a joke and kind of throwaway thing, and they made it such a crucial character development to this iteration of Batman that I think it makes sense. Like it just works so well, and especially it being the year 2 Batman. I'm glad that he hasn't figured it out yet. He's still, trying to be the best that he can. So the fact that he had that arc in the movie was it was so cool. And yeah, like I would say that Gotham lost I think the Riddler won, but it was a very like personal victory for Bruce. And I think moving forward, and this is another complaint I've heard from a lot of people, is that they didn't like that Bruce Wayne and Batman were basically the same character, that there wasn't enough difference there, but that's where he is in his life right now.
Exactly.
He doesn't care about the Bruce Wayne persona. I think where he ends at this film, he's seeing more of that, like it's important to have, more of that dual identity, different personas for each part that he's playing. And I think we'll get more of that in the coming sequels.
I think that's why I keep emphasizing that this movie offers a limited amount of what the whole package of Batman is. Right? It's like it's earlier on, so he's still learning how to be. What is Batman? What does this job look like? How should I live my life? This is early on, and they actually allude to it with the mayor. She's like, "Hey, let's talk about it."
Yeah.
We're not doing anything. We can do a lot of stuff with your help. And so they talk about it early. They plant that seed about midway through the movie, maybe earlier. I think it's midway through.
Yeah.
And so if they do make a movie number 2, I know they're doing a show with Penguin.
They're doing two shows.
Two shows.
yeah.
Penguin and then Gotham PD.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we'll get the sequel.
Yeah, so there's a second movie. I personally think that this movie could have, like the second movie would have potential to do way better than my initial take on it, because at least there's a little bit more to build off of.
Yeah.
And it's going to have a lot more to play with.
And,
what were you going to say?
Well, I was going to say that, I know
philanthropist.
they plant that seed. She says, you're not doing enough for Gotham.
Yeah.
Right. So that also, that applies to Bruce Wayne, as in like, hey, where are you going? Like your father was a philanthropist. What are you doing? So I think that seed's planted to set it up in the future, but it also applies to Batman too. Whereas like, he was focused so much on I'm being vengeance. That's all I'm gonna be.
That's what they called him. Like
And,
that's what
right.
people knew him as.
And he's like, I can do more
Yeah.
for the city. And he comes to that realization at the end. I know you're talking about like he said, I had an effect on the city, but it wasn't the effect I wanted.
Yeah.
And he does come to that realization at the end. And yeah, that scene you're talking about where he leads them out is awesome too. And I like that they're scared of him. No one comes out, and the first person that comes out is the kid.
Boy, yeah.
So they tie that all back to the beginning, which was also another one of my favorite moments. So having him be like, I trust this guy because I've seen him before, you know.
Right. Well, and the criminal not the criminal, the bystander that gets beat up by the gang, he's afraid of
scared
Batman.
of-
He's
yeah.
like, don't hurt me, blah blah blah. So yeah, that just goes to show that there was a change there.
And on the Bruce Wayne aspect of it, I think they are going to develop that because they make a specific example. Alfred has a conversation with him where he says, you need to get out more. And he says the investors or whatever, or the board members are coming. And Bruce Wayne's pissed that they're coming. He's like, here? Right? Because he doesn't want to deal with anything. And there's a plot point in the whole movie is the fact that the mob and Gotham police are using the renewal fund that his dad put.
Because no one's watching over it.
Is because Bruce Wayne is doing this other stuff and he's not. If he would have been paying attention, he would have realized that, hey, some funny stuff is going on. So I think that kind of, they're laying down that groundwork of Batman's realizing, hey, I need to be more involved in this kind of stuff. So I've heard a lot of people complain, hey, there wasn't enough Bruce Wayne. And I was like, well, we're going to get that in the next movies because they're making a point to show he's not even worrying about that. He's kind of like, they did the reverse of, in Dark Knight Rises, where Bruce Wayne
is away. He
is
doesn't
away
come out
because
of
of everything that happened.
Right.
Well, this is kind of the reverse. Is like he's away. He doesn't care about all that stuff because he's early on in his career and he's going to become that billionaire playboy persona.
Well, yeah, and it's also like I think really similar to how it is in I think Zero Year, the Batman comic, where he's Batman. Yeah. That's all he cares about. He doesn't care about anything else. So the people that say like, "Oh, it's not true to the comics," like the comics do so many different things where it's like
not true to what.
Exactly. So I was, and it's something we've never really got before in a movie. So I'm glad that it was something different, something new. I think they could have easily gone the Batman Begins route and just not had anything different there. So I was a fan of the fact that he was in such a dark, like I think this was like the darkest Bruce Wayne Batman that we've got, just because he's like doesn't care about anything really. He doesn't care about himself even, he says. So
kind of touching on the renewal fund and stuff like that kind of sparked a reminder of what I thought a couple days ago. I think one other things where one of the contributing factors is that the reason why I didn't have so much weight behind everything is because of that lack of connection with his parents. And there wasn't, and I kind of hit on it a little bit, but like I don't know, just like alluding to like father-son stuff and having little like symbolic things here and there. It just wasn't enough for me.
Okay.
I think that in the end, if you really take the sum of all things, his dad was terrible, and yeah, he was being selfish, and they didn't like emphasize any of the like good stuff that, you know what I mean? Like if you just take this movie as the only sample size, his dad was trash.
Not
He's just a
really.
selfish guy.
I disagree with that.
I think
for sure.
I think it
in
was
the movie.
I think it was a
proves
good.
that.
I think it was a good mixture of both. I think that it was wrong of him to be like, we need to silence this guy and Falcone take care of it. But at the same time, he was like completely disgusted by the fact what happened to the reporter.
Right.
So I think that the film does a thing where it's like it's making you realize that even Thomas Wayne wasn't a good guy, but it also it doesn't.
He's a good guy. Thomas Wayne's a good guy.
It doesn't vilify him.
Where
though,
in the movie
to
does it show that?
His conversation with Alfred.
Exactly.
tells you that.
Conversation, not show.
Well,
That's my point. Is that
he's dead. So.
the only person? Well, it's a movie, so you can either do flashbacks or you can show examples of things that he's affecting in the city that are positive,
Right.
or ways to show how he is fighting for the right thing. To like he's not just fighting for a guy who kind of just messed up. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm just saying, yes, they had a conversation. He says, your dad was a good guy. He was the best guy I ever knew. And it's like, that's just words. And so I'm just saying it just lacked the show part of that, so that it didn't translate into weightiness, heart behind what Batman was doing for me when it comes to his parents. That's all.
Yeah, for me, the aspect of, because the conversation is like Falcone makes it look like, and the Riddler makes it look like Thomas Wayne was the mastermind, had this guy killed, and Falcone, and then you realize when he has a conversation with Alfred is that the only thing that Thomas Wayne did wrong, he's like, he was defending your mother, like he was, because this guy was
he was trying to
going
cover
after
up the
things.
news of, hey, she's going to an insane asylum.
Right, like this aspect of it, and so
No, I get it.
So that to me was like, in that conversation, that's when you realize that Falcone knew,
and I'm
because
not-
he even says a thing about him saying like he was such a good person, like there was nothing, he was so high above reproach that this was the thing that Falcone knew he now had something on him if he would murder the guy, because he could then blame it on Thomas Wayne.
I'm not saying that I don't understand that. I totally understand that. I'm just saying it was just, it didn't have enough oomph behind it. It wasn't enough meat for me. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah,
It's
I'm
just-
not.
It was just like a very entry level,
Right.
very surface level.
I'm not
story
responding
beat.
as much to yours as more to, like Mick said, Thomas Wayne wasn't a good guy. I'm like, no, I think the point
Right.
is that Falcone manipulates that.
No,
the
I
reality
understand
is
that.
like,
Yeah.
and that's why, Alfred says that, like, no, he when he heard about that, he was going to go to the cops and say, hey, this happened. And that's why he was murdered. So I think that kind of, to me, was like the redemption aspect of it. Like the guy, and what I liked about it too is like, he's not a perfect person. Like he did make a mistake. And that's what Alfred says. He knew he had made a mistake in asking Falcone. Like he shouldn't have ever trusted Falcone to be like, hey, just kind of scare him. He's like, he made a mistake in doing that, but there were reasons for doing it. So I just think that to me worked, where, which I liked, because I didn't want him to be like the bad guy. When I was seeing that kind of stuff, it was kind of like there is redemption to it.
To just kind of go back to my point is that I think that was just a gap for me. Like,
Right, you wanted to see
I
more.
wanted to see it.
Yes.
I wanted to see examples because it was just a line. Like, it's just a very short.
I'll give you an example. So, like in Man of Steel, in Man of Steel, there's a moment. I bring this up all the time, but where Superman is talking to his mom, and he's like, "I wish he would have seen it," and she says he did see it. Right? He's dead at that point, but there's a flashback of seeing Jonathan Kent working on his truck, and he sees young Clark running around with the Superman cape and that kind of stuff. And you get that like flashback. If they would have done, like you're saying, maybe a flashback to see him in that moment of making the decision, or like wanting to go to the cop or something like that, like maybe that would have been better for you to see something
or
like that,
a
right?
handwritten note. You know what I mean? Like
Okay.
anything personalized that makes this his dad actually a human being. Because all we saw of him was a poster of him trying to get hired for mayor. There
We
was
saw
no
video footage of him.
What was the video footage of?
Well,
was the
just
same
him being-
thing.
Yeah.
It was him campaigning, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about like his connection as a father.
Yeah.
And them being a family. And that's just because like I really like those types of stories. And like that's what it comes down to. Like on a technical aspect, like I think the movie did really good. Like I'd probably rate it on a technical aspect, like storytelling.
Give
Like,
it a 10.
If I read it
Yeah.
on paper, it'd probably be like a 9.5.
Yeah.
But that's not how
The
movies are.
execution wasn't
Yeah, I just
the way
think
you
that,
preferred.
man, if
Yeah,
they
that's
could have
fine.
been a little bit more creative with somehow connecting me with his dad or his mom to feel bad for her. They did like pictures here and there of her like going crazy, but like it was just disconnected for me. Yeah, that's all it is. It just comes down to disconnection and
just preference.
I also there was no relatability to the story for that aspect of it. Like I just couldn't relate to it. Yeah.
I guess for me, the part that you kind of had an issue with Alfred being the one that was saying it, to me that worked because it did two things. It gave you that, answer that Thomas Wayne actually wasn't as bad as Falcone was making him out to be. And two, it kind of healed the relationship that Alfred has with Bruce
Yeah.
in this movie. Their relationship is very strained and not where it should be. And with Alfred coming out and saying this to Bruce, I think it repairs that and makes their relationship stronger. So for me, I think it worked. But that's just me.
Go ahead.
I think that's awesome, and I think on paper you're right. It's just when it comes down to it, that was a minute scene that's supposed to like give backing to the rest of his decisions and the weight of the movie, and I think it was just a weak branch that it was weighed on. That's kind of how I feel about it, and that's the reason why I wasn't feeling super emotionally invested in the end. I think that's a core component. Is I wasn't emotionally invested at the end. I didn't get goosebumps at the end. You know, that's just how it is.
I think it worked for me, but I do if there were one thing I would complain about or nitpick and say I wish they would have done better. I wish there was more scenes with Alfred and Bruce Wayne.
Me too,
100%.
Because that could have been a way to get us more emotionally invested.
Because I think, like, even though it worked for me, and I love the scene where, you know, you have the scene where he says, "You're not my father," and then you see in Alfred's face, like, I know I'm not your
bro,
father,
that sucks.
right? Like, you can tell it hurts him. And then in the moment where he holds his hand when he's in, you know, where he realizes that, like, I felt like I was going to lose my father again, all over again. Like, that moment was good, but I was like, if there would have been another scene, I just felt like there needed to be another scene. Does that make sense?
Me too. 100%.
To kind of make it, strengthen it a little. Like I said, it still worked for me, but if there was one thing I'd say, out of all the things, if you can add one more scene with any character, it would be a scene with Alfred. And here's a cool thing. Matt Reeves has said that he has a 4-hour cut that he's going to release on the, like, he's saying he might release it with the
10 more minutes.
Snyder Cut?
no, like an hour more.
Oh, 4 hours.
That he wants
For some reason, I like auto corrected to 3. I'm like,
he's like
10 more minutes.
for people that want to see this stuff, he's like I release it on like Blu-ray or whatever when it comes out. That would, to me, I'm like, if you add another scene or maybe there's flashback scenes with that might be interesting to
If
see.
it focuses more on the relationship side
Yeah.
and stuff and not like more riddle unveiling,
Riddle me this.
I would be super
Yeah.
down. I'll watch that for sure.
So that's a
That'd be
rumor.
awesome.
He mentioned stuff like that. So that would be
That's
interesting.
cool.
Well, and apparently, too, there's also deleted scenes of Batman going to Arkham Asylum and actually talking with the Joker and
interesting.
trying
Yeah,
to
that
get
they
more.
cut.
Joker's not in this movie.
Huh?
Joker's not in this movie. It's unnamed prisoner.
He goes and talks to the Joker and has a conversation,
Nice
kind
guy,
of
man.
Science of the Lamb style.
No fun,
No fun.
Yeah, which he said he's going to release that.
Yeah.
So that's cool. So
It's cool.
Like I said, I think I know what you're saying. Whereas like there's certain things that you wish would have been developed more. Like you want to see more of that aspect. So I think that might be something that maybe is released, maybe because they thought, hey, we need to have more of these elements. These things need to be cut. You never know. But. So that would be interesting if that ends up coming out and then watching it and saying like, man, these scenes would have made it better for,
gonna make it an 11.
It might make it a 9.8 for you, Josh. Josh might watch it 4 hours. He's like, it's not as good a movie. 9.8. It might go up for Corey. Our averages go up. Is there anything else you guys wanted to talk about? I think
I mean, we kind of touched on a little bit. The score was amazing. I loved that it was, to me, it was like a perfect mixture of like what we got from Nolan, what we get from like the more Michael Keaton kind of theatrical, kind of extravagant sound. I thought it was a really good mixture of both. Because I think Batman needs that more kind of gothic, higher trumpet.
well, there are
stuff,
parts that
but,
sounded like the animated series to me.
animated series. To me, the soundtrack went from like, oh, that's almost like Lord of the Rings, and oh, that's almost like James Bond, and oh, we get like some horror elements in there.
Dude, yeah, they did a lot of strings.
Yeah.
I think that's what that guy was on, man. He was like, oh my gosh, I heard the like as he did something. And it's
mean,
like, oh,
look.
horror. It's like, dude, shut up.
The movie is
so
not the movie is not a horror film.
Yes, Corey
There-
was right from the
there
beginning.
When
are-
I heard those strings, I
there
was like,
are-
oh, come on.
There are horror elements in this movie. It is not a horror film. There are
It's horror adjacent.
yes.
I'd say more thriller than horror.
Yeah, that's a thriller. That's
I
a
think
thriller.
the only horror moment was when he's showing him the video of the guy that has the rat.
Yeah.
That was the only part
They
that
didn't
was like
show anything.
Yeah,
That's
they
the
didn't show
crazy
anything.
thing.
And so that
They
was the
didn't
only
show
part
anything.
to me.
But you can
Because the
assume.
other stuff was more like thriller, even like the beginning when he's in that room and he moves away. Like it was
So
more
he's
like
good
the
at hide
bone,
and seek.
the
Who
bone
cares,
collector kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was dope though.
But yeah,
I heard people like gasp like like it was pretty funny.
It was dope.
The cinematography by
it's
Greg Fraser
awesome.
is
The guy that did
it's
Dune,
one
right?
of the Dune, Rogue One.
Yeah,
I think it's one of the best looking movies
It's a
Yeah.
beautiful
ever.
movie.
the other thing that I'll say is this is one of the coolest introductions to the Batmobile.
Yeah.
When he's just like, and the penguin's just like looking over like, and it just keeps like
I'm
like
When
they
you hear
hold on
the
it
you
for
hear
a
the
long
engine
time.
like
Yeah, it's
roaring
like,
up.
and that scene was pretty legit of him.
Yeah, that chase scene.
Yeah,
Chasing.
cool.
yeah. I think it's probably my favorite Batmobile now.
Oh, okay.
I think it's awesome.
I want to say I wanted a little more of that.
Yeah.
For my taste, I wanted more of that. I love the fact that he used the wingsuit to fly.
That was
I
legit.
thought that was awesome, and it perfectly fits with the aesthetic. It's like the justifiable, realistic, and I love that. I thought that was so cool. And during the trailer, I guess I never slowed it down, or I guess I did.
Yeah.
I didn't really look at the trailer a ton, but I was like, it was in the trailer.
Yeah.
Like the way he flies, I was like, how is he flying so fast? And that's why. He was like that. That was cool. I really like.
Did you laugh when he hit?
No,
Because
I didn't
You,
laugh.
you laugh?
no, people laughed when we were
No,
watching
I
it.
did not
Like people were
laugh.
like, ha ha ha. ha.
I said, "Oh my gosh!"
But I was
he
like-
might break his neck. How the f did he tank that?
yeah. So
Because he's wearing hockey pads.
The other thing I'll say is there was actually like there were some pretty funny things. Which
A couple, yeah.
when
Three or
I talk
four.
about not liking Marvel's humor, like this is the kind of stuff I like. I like the thumb drive thing. I thought was funny.
That was funny. You're sick.
oh no,
It was
No,
funny.
Gordon had some
and
funny
then
ones.
Gordon
Or
had some
like,
funny lines, and then the
that
Penguin
was-
had some funny lines.
Yeah.
I just think like
I
they-
saw that joke coming ahead.
they
Obviously,
fit
with the thumb.
they fit in universe. Do you know what I'm
Right.
saying? It's not like random people were going around like just cracking jokes. Everyone was cracking jokes. It was like it fit with what they were.
It's
that?
not. It's
the
not
characters.
quippy, out of place humor. It's organic humor that
Right.
comes from like the conversations
Right.
that they're
Right.
having or the situations that they're in. Like even the Riddler has like some kind of funny moments
Yeah.
that he
But-
says
Yeah.
or something.
And each joke they say is handcrafted for the character who's
Right.
delivering
Right.
it.
Yes.
Which is my biggest issue with Peacemaker or whatever it's called, Suicide Squad. Where it's like they just had a list of them. You're like, you say that one, you say that one. It's like it felt
It's
so
all the
disconnected.
same humor.
Yes,
yeah,
it
it's
is.
like as if, I mean, we have all different senses of humor in this room. My jokes are way better than
That's not
Josh's
true.
jokes.
Yours is more dad joke like.
Yeah.
Punny.
Crystal was saying like the scene where the penguin's flipped over and he's walking up and like he leans in. Crystal's like, yeah, in a Marvel movie, he would have been like made some stupid joke of like, oh, looks like you're upside down. You know,
Looks like your wings are clipped.
You're not looking like a penguin, you're looking like a turtle.
Exactly. It's like it would be something stupid like that. But yeah, I think the humor was great. My one nitpick about it, it's kind
yeah,
of
the
related
one-
to the Alfred stuff. I didn't like how fast he went from thinking that Maroni killed his parents
Yeah.
to
that was
switching to
quick.
Falcone
Yeah.
killed his parents. It was like the next scene. So
For a
he
movie
talks to
that's 2 hours 50.
he talks to
yeah.
Falcone and he's like, "Oh, Maroni killed my parents," and then he goes and talks to Alfred. Then like a couple
Yeah.
minutes later, and then he's like, "No, it's actually Falcone killed
He's
him," and he's like,
I bet.
He's like,
I'm
okay,
gonna go back.
okay. That
Yeah,
was my
that
one
was too
nitpick.
quick.
I would have wished probably have that conversation earlier and maybe drag it out a little
Yeah.
bit that he
That makes
thinks
sense.
that Maroni killed his parents.
I do like it though that at least from Alfred, it's left kind of open ended that maybe it wasn't because Alfred talks
Right.
about like I've
searched,
I've
yeah.
studied
Yeah, that
this
he doesn't know.
ever since it happened. It could have been them or it could have been a random person because
could have
I think
been
it's
mine.
always I think it's always more interesting when it's just a random Joe Chill thug, other than like specifically Falcone or
Yeah.
or the Joker. I always hated that in the '89 film when it was the Joker that did it. So dumb. But yeah, so I like that aspect.
I think it bothered me that it was just a bunch of it's just like a
Like he
bunch
said,
of,
she said.
Yes, it is exactly that. It bugs me. There's a lot of that. There's a lot of just
Yeah.
I say this. Okay, I say this. And it's like, okay, I believe this.
I guess that's the style of movie, though,
Yeah.
right? If we're going for like a noir detective.
But there
kind of
was
stuff.
so much show. Like there were so many aspects of this movie that they showed the evidence.
Right.
Maybe Batman could have figured it out.
He could have found a contact lens that his dad was wearing when he got murdered, and he puts it on. He's like, oh, I recorded it, the whole
Oh my
thing.
gosh, he had them all along.
His gadgets were pretty sick, though. Like the contact lens was legit.
Bat claw, how it would pop out.
Like we make fun of that, but legit,
Cool.
he is a detective. So like,
Well, yes.
figuring out stuff legitimately
And like you said-
in a smart way would have been.
And like you said,
awesome.
it's a movie,
That
so you
would have
can get
mattered.
away with stuff. Yeah,
Yeah, that would have worked a lot for me as well. Actually, that would have been awesome. Yeah,
we're making a 10 movie for Sea Dog here with better ideas.
we're going up. I think we've just broke 9.
Before we finish, what? So people have referenced who they want to see in the sequels.
Oh, yeah.
Matt Reeves has mentioned he'd love to do a Mr. Freeze from an animated series, which I think for me would be awesome.
Nora.
What do you guys? What is
Chill.
your dream scenario for Batman 2? What villain do you want? You don't need to go into plot, but just like, what do you guys want to see Matt Reeves to tackle in the Batman 2? Hold on. Obviously, the Joker's in this one, so that's a possibility.
Is it
Played
really?
by Barry Keoghan or Keegan. How you pronounce
Which one
it?
is it?
I don't know.
Koigen.
Anyways, so now sorry, Mick, you can go now.
Well, I guess in terms of Joker, I'm fine with not seeing him in the next movie. Maybe he's like there a little bit, but as like the main villain, I would love to go in a different direction, something we haven't seen before, or before and done well, like a Mr. Freeze animated series style. I think would be really cool. This universe sets him up as still a like extremely like masterful martial artist, so I think it would still be cool to bring in like a Deathstroke character or something like that with what they were planning on with Ben Affleck's movie, because we still haven't really got like, you know, masterful martial artists going against each other in a Batman film before. So I'd love to see something like that. I think would be cool. I hope that this universe, it does feel grounded, but at the same time it felt more animated series grounded.
Yeah.
So I hope that they are like not too afraid to go more like magical or almost like super powered villains that he has. Like, I don't know. Like,
Give me a Clayface.
like a clay. Yeah. Honestly. Yeah.
Stole mine.
So I hope that we get more stuff like that, less Joker stuff right now. I'm honestly kind of burnt out on Joker. I think he's still a good character, but we've just seen so much of him so recently that I would love to see
Something different.
something different.
Sure.
And I mean, I definitely got that with this movie with the Riddler, which he was amazing. So I hope that they kind of keep going down that road and we get something different.
Sea Dog, what about you?
Yeah, I am actually pro Joker in this situation. Look, when someone knocks it out of the park with a role, you're scared to do it again. But we kept seeing new iterations of Joker. I think there's been enough between that I would be willing to see another Joker, only because I think he would fit so well in this world.
Yeah.
I think he would thrive, and I think that's a reason why you introduced him at the end, is because how he operates, man, the way he operates and the things that he goes for, his intentions, the things that drive him, I think just fits in this version of Gotham and Batman so well.
I agree.
I get what you're saying, 100%.
Yeah, no, and I
100%.
agree. I think he would fit perfect. I mean, a lot of what Paul Dano did with the Riddler was very like Dark Knight Joker-esque. So I could totally see that making sense. I just, from a standpoint of like, we've never seen this villain before, or, you know, this villain done this way. Like, I would just love something different, at least for the next movie. Yeah. Obviously, the Joker is going to be in the movies in some aspect at some point. So
yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I would want really. I just know that Joker would fit for me, and I think that anything that is along that real, down to earth, not magical, like you said, style of villain, I think would just work super well. So that's why Riddler works so well as well. So yeah, I don't know. What about you, Chip?
I kind of want to see a little bit of the Joker in the second movie, but I don't want him to be the main villain.
I think it'd be cool if he was like
just
behind
pepper him
it,
in.
or like he was at the end or something.
Yeah,
like that.
pepper him in, set him up for the third one. I
Yeah,
think that's
that
good
would
for
be
me.
great. That's what I was thinking.
That'd be cool.
Mr. Freeze would be awesome. Clayface, I would love Clayface, but I think that's out of the
I don't think it works.
out of the realm
I don't
of
think it
like
fits.
in this world. Yeah.
I don't think it fits.
I
It'd
think
be cool though.
I think the ventriloquist fits perfect in this world with a creepy guy with the little mannequin.
Horror guys out there want to see horror. There you go.
But like a good like gangster still fits in like with the
Yeah.
penguin kind of stuff.
Even like the Mad Hatter would be cool.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind seeing Bane. I know you said the green stuff.
Yeah, that's what I'm
I
saying.
had
Bane
the
would
same.
be fine.
I
Bane
thought
would-
the same thought
Bane would be good.
when he put the stuff in. I was like, why do you make that green? And there's writing on it, so when you go watch it, Jonah, make sure you take your
I don't have
contacts
my glasses.
and
I
glasses
lost my
so you can
glasses,
read
like,
what's on there.
Get your
I'm sure it
3
says
months
Venom
ago.
right
That's
on
your
there.
Binox.
Titan formula.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm on the same page with you. I think so. Matt Reeves has already talked more about the Joker, and he says he's not the Joker yet.
Right.
So he says he's a guy that has like
He's a serial killer.
He's a serial killer that has a
he's-
condition where he's
looking
always
for-
smiling.
He's looking for friends.
And he thinks his whole life has been a one sick joke.
Tragedy.
So I think there would be a cool thing where you, like you said, you have another villain, whether it's Mr. Freeze or somebody else,
Joker's developed,
and the
during
Joker
that.
and the Joker is kind of like he's out, and you kind of see him like he's seeing the Batman. He's kind of seeing what's going on. You have scenes with him, but he's not the clown prince of crime yet. And you have that episode where at the end, that movie where at the end of it, you build him up to where it's like he's the main guy in the third one. Like he's been watching, he's been kind of causing mayhem, but Batman's more focused on someone else.
I would like to see the aftermath of Batman and other villain story beats actually like commit things to his development as the Joker. That'd be really cool.
That would
to
be
see
really
that.
awesome. And so to me, I love the animated series Mr. Freeze. So I think that would be something that they could do like a real version of it, like not the Arnold version, but a guy that's kind of like trying to save his wife. That whole aspect would work really good. Maybe Joker like does something where he's responsible for Nora getting killed or something at the end, like something that would just be like intertwine them. But I just think there's so many good characters they can do, because obviously the Penguin's still around, and now he's actually becoming the Penguin because of what's happened.
Yeah.
I just think there's so many characters that they could do. And the cool thing about this is apparently there's another show. I don't know if this is going to be the Penguin show or the Gotham PD, but they
Penguin
said
show.
they said that's what it's going to be called. They're going to do a
On ice.
Peacemaker dance.
Yeah, nice. They're skating on ice. Yeah.
Apparently Matt Reeves said that it's going to take a lot of it's going to have to do with Arkham and the history of Arkham and the inmates in Arkham. So I'm wondering what they're going to do. Like, are they going to build out some characters in that we're going to see then down the line? Because the movie's made 286 worldwide or something like that, which is good.
Yeah, that's good. Good.
And I think it's going to make
seen.
more in the next weeks, because I think there's enough good word of mouth on it. I think a lot of people didn't watch it. I talked to some people at around that were saying, well, we didn't know if we wanted to go because is it too scary. So like, I think some people have been waiting to see like what the reactions are. And so I think you're going to get more people going to watch that didn't watch it initially the first weekend. So hopefully that means we get more of this, because I would love to see a sequel to this. And I love Matt Reeves movies, and I think he nailed it.
Yeah. Yeah. He gets Batman.
Yep.
And
So does Zack Snyder.
all the
so people
actors
You felt
got
like he
their
was cheating on Zack Snyder.
I
So I
know.
had to say that.
all the actors I think got their character perfectly.
Yeah.
I don't think there was a miscast at all. So yeah, I want this cast to come back, and I want him to come back.
Just goes to show you what happens when a good director, handles this material.
and is
You know what I'm
allowed to do his
true.
thing.
That's what it is. It's when WB gives
saying? Yeah,
someone.
well,
Oh,
when you're a good director, they give you the freedom. When you're a bad director, they feel like they have to babysit.
Hey,
That's what happens.
I will have to say,
What
though,
are you referring to?
I will have to say, still the best Batman scene in any movie is still the warehouse scene from BVS. I still think nothing
is
has
that a
topped
Batman scene, or is it just a fight scene?
that. Yeah, it's a
It
Batman
could be, it
fighting
could be any
scene.
other character. And
The best,
I wouldn't tell
the
no
best
difference.
action Batman scene in any movie is that one.
which one is that? I'm having a hard time remember.
Get out of here.
Just joking. Yeah, that's pretty good. I mean, I think that the movie entertained a lot, and I think that, you know, even if you're not like a huge Batman fan, I think you'll still find a lot of interesting and entertaining story points to this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think you have to be a diehard Batman fan, and I think there's enough to this movie that it'll entertain a lot broader of a crowd. So, yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was good, really good.
Yeah. My hope and my dream of going into this movie was, will it be better than Batman Begins? And Batman Begins.
That's your favorite.
That was my favorite. That was my favorite Batman movie. And
Notice how you said was, guys.
what? Yeah. Oh, I spoiled it. Sorry. The Batman is now my favorite Batman movie. I think it took the top spot, definitely. So
Nice.
I was very happy with that.
That's crazy. Is it your favorite Batman movie?
I think it is.
Wow.
Because I really
amazing.
like The Dark Knight, and I think this movie does a bunch of things that The Dark Knight did way better.
Interesting.
Like they're very similar in the way that, you know, the Joker's doing stuff. He's trying to catch the Joker. He's trying to catch the Riddler. But like the steps to get there are way better in this one than him being like, let me rebuild this.
Yeah,
bullet
I
in the
100%
brick.
disagree. I think that this movie has a
I'm
hard
spying on
time
people.
being interesting, revealing like the path. Like the crumbs are just like, oh, answer this riddle. Okay, this riddle. Okay, next clue.
Yeah.
Oh, answer this riddle. Okay, answer the riddle. Next clue. It's like there was like how many clues? Like 5 or 6, and it's like it was the same thing again and again. And that's where it lulled a little bit for me, is because it was like the same. That's why I'm saying just like take one of them out, or like mash 2 together and like just shorten it just a little bit to have some expediency on this story. So it's a little bit more interesting. And you know, it might be a little bit more interesting for a broader audience because it's a little bit more quick. But yeah, that was just my little thing. And I think that the combat and like the fight scenes, especially the first fight scene in the subway with the thugs, very cool, because I was like watching it intently. A thing that a lot of fighting or hero movies and any kind of scene where they're fighting a group of people versus one, very unrealistic, very stupid.
Guys are always waiting. If you watch Nolan's fights, they're
So
the more you watch them, they're pretty
this
bad.
one was really good because
director.
they had people doing things that were justified so that they couldn't hit him, but they also had people hit him in the freaking back
Yeah.
while he was fighting another dude, and like it
Yeah.
was hard for him, like he was getting railed. Good thing he had his armor, you know, and so it was very justified, and I really enjoyed it. It wasn't just people like, what should I do? Just waiting for their chance to fight him.
When
Like,
it goes
they
back,
went at him.
It goes back to that this Batman isn't like perfect yet. He's not like, you know, he still gets hit in the back and, you know, makes mistakes in fights. So it's cool.
Well, that's the thing. Like, one of my issues with some other Batmans or some other hero
Zack
movies
Snyder's Batman.
is that they all wait for him, and it's like they act like he's this perfect superhuman guy, but it's like just the what's it called, the not cinematography, the choreography of the fight is just unrealistic. And so kudos to them, they did a really good job. I wanted a little bit more, but it was great.
Yeah,
for what we got.
I was expecting a little more fight scenes, but that's why I said the warehouse scene for me is still top, because this one didn't really give me anything that I was like, maybe if some of the scenes would have been longer,
Yeah.
but it felt like they were over too quick.
I think the cerebral aspect of Batman, this movie hit it out of the
yeah.
park, out of the park, and that is like the number one feature of this movie. And you can't really compare it to other ones because it's just so focused. But where you give up time to invest in that cerebral aspect, it hurts on the other aspects of like there's some tech stuff and there's some fight stuff at the very end, but man, this is a 2-hour, 50-minute movie, and it's like I wanted to see more of that. So
Wait for the 4-hour cut.
I'm down,
Definitely.
dude.
Yeah,
I'm down, bro.
Hopefully it's
I'm down. It's just
Real.
more riddles.
Yeah. It's just him working out the cipher.
Oh, that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, it's oh. Good.
At the end of the movie, there's the website. You can go to rataalada.com, and it's actually pretty cool. You go, and then the Riddler like says, "Do you want to play?" And you press yes, and then he gives you riddles, and you have to answer 3 riddles. And once you answer 3 riddles, like you get a cipher and stuff. Anyways, it gives you like scenes from the movie or like pictures of the movie, like newspaper articles and stuff. But they keep saying like, come back, keep checking back. Like,
Yeah.
so new things are, so they're still putting out new things. And so some people are saying like, that would be cool if they kind of kept this going to kind of reveal like, if they're going to announce the next movie and kind of stuff like that. I like that kind of stuff. I think it's cool.
It's just good
that
viral
they do.
marketing.
Yes. Because I mean, I spent like 20 minutes on it just being like, oh, what would be the riddle for that?
Did you
And, like
get 'em
hitting
all?
the 3, and then like you can go back and it'll give you a different riddles. And if you do it for the third time again, and then if you leave your browser, so I just did it on my phone. So I asked the riddle and I couldn't figure it out. So I left to see if anyone else had it. And then when I went back, it says, why would you cheat like that? You're not a real Batman. So I was like,
awesome.
oh, what the heck?
That's
cool.
awesome.
So
That's
it's just
really
kind of cool. If you're interested, kind of go. It's just kind of the blue. I mean, the green kind of like keys from the movie. You know, where it's like where they're talking to the Riddler. So it's kind of really cool. It's just kind of that full setup. So I just thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, cool. That's awesome. So you think that they'll announce the intent to make another movie sometime soon, or you think it'll be delayed? Or
I think they'll announce probably this next week.
I think they.
I
Should
think the
work
numbers
off
were
of
good
hype.
enough.
Yeah, I think.
So
they
I
should
think
work
they're
off
going to
of
say something.
cool. That'd be
One
cool.
of the producers said their goal is to make the next one in under 5 years. So it's like less than 5 years from now, we'd get the second
I would
one.
friggin' hope so.
Hopefully there's no COVID, because that was the reason this one got delayed.
Yeah.
And apparently
That's true.
that's the reason this was $100 million, but the budget doubled that because of COVID, because then they had to, instead of filming on like in the cities, they had to build sets.
Yeah.
So that's
sucks.
unfortunate. But yeah, I want more.
Cool.
And last thing,
But I know I should.
you said Deathstroke. You can't use Deathstroke in this one because you got to save Deathstroke for the Batman movie with Ben Affleck.
I want
That's gonna
Manganella,
happen.
dude. I want Manganella,
Hey.
dude. What?
He said,
Hey, jeez. No.
just a little
what?
Snyder news. He said that he was done. He's like, no, I've given up that dream of being Deathstroke. A few months ago, when someone asked him, and then fast forward a few months now, he just changed his all his profile pictures to Deathstroke again. So
I wish I was an actor. I
the
could
sleuths,
screw with people.
the sleuths are on it.
A tiny little like square of my outfit I take a picture of that's cropped in. They're like, oh, that's Deathstroke's outfit.
Hey.
Dude, Deathstroke. Dude, Snyder.
The sleuths are back.
I would just be doing like
I would love to do
messing
that.
around with swords, be like, oh, just practicing for something.
Yes. And like I'm like reenacting an exact scene from like some Batman movie or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be so great.
Numbers came out. The merger's on its way. Expect some big announcements, guys.
I'm
Yeah.
expecting.
We're on to Matt Reeves
I
now.
can't
We're
wait.
done with
No,
Snyderverse.
we can have
was a 10, dude.
many
It was
universes,
a 10.
guys. Yeah,
was a 10.
these guys would a 10.
They got
They don't
a
want
10
no
out of
more.
a
They don't want no other
2-hour,
Batman.
50-minute movie. And how long did Snyder have to take? Okay. 4 hour what? Yeah. Snyder needs to take some notes.
Get out of here.
Hey, no slow motion in this movie.
8.8. So I actually think Snyder's
Was it on some?
BBS is better. Anyway. Nice.
the car.
Is that pretty much
I
it?
think
You
that's
guys
it,
want
guys.
to cover anything else, or is
I mean, we will probably be talking about this movie
For the rest of our lives.
rest of our lives, but this was our like
will not.
spoiler talk.
Yeah.
And I think that's all we'll do.
Yeah, that's probably good.
Yeah.
anyway, thank you guys for watching and listening. Hopefully down the road we'll be able to do some more reactions. That video actually was very popular. Thank you guys
Yeah,
for
thank
watching.
you for watching.
If you guys
Yeah,
are
thanks
here,
for watching, guys.
If you guys are here now because of that, thank you. Drop us a subscribe. That'd be awesome. But yeah, that'll do it for the Batman. Thanks for watching.
See you guys next week.
See
Bye.
ya.